Hi, I'm Tim, welcome to the channel. We're going to be building some alcove shelving today to fit inside an old fireplace, so stick around and I'll show you how I'm going to make it. So we've kind of finished this room and we've moved the beds in here and kind of majority of the bits, but one of the things is the kids' books, and there's just endless amounts of them, so we figured we'd use this space, this old fireplace, for that. So you might be able to make out in the top corner there the kitchen shelves. Now those are again in an alcove using some solid pine. It was actually in an old tabletop that I cut up, but they are on sort of support battens at the side, and it sits on those like a conventional shelf. With the books, I just wanted it so it's really simple and we don't see those supports. A couple of ways I can achieve that. The first is the way I was planning to go, which is just have two battens on either side and then build kind of almost like a torsion box where you've got a layer of ply and a layer of ply and then the same depth battens between them, and then leaving a kind of section at the side, a groove almost, that it would slide in, and then we cap the front with a solid bit of timber. Now that works well, you can get a really strong shelf that way, but you've still got to cap that front, and then if you wanted it to be solid, give the idea of a solid wood, you'd have to have solid wood at the front to match the ply. The plan is to go something more like that, using chunky pine boards that I've already got, but then use the router to cut a groove, sort of rebate in the sides, and then again use some batten on the side, and then hopefully the whole thing will slide on and slot on, but still look like a floating solid shelf. Not quite sure how well this one's going to work, but let's give it a go. As far as the fireplace itself, I've capped off the inside of here, leaving some ventilation, and I've just used some white insulation board, the kind of 50mm stuff that I had left over from the underfloor heating project. So that's kind of scribed to the wall and just friction fitted up into there, so that it wouldn't be that hard to take apart if you wanted to use this for a fireplace. But likewise, I've made sure there's a bit of ventilation there. So what we've got to work with is this opening. We're going to have two shelves in here, and these are nice and plumb, the actual brickwork, good old Victorians. So I'm going to have two of the timber kind of tracks, I guess, on the side, and then we'll slide our timber in. So we need to get some measurements from here and also make sure that we've got enough of the width of those boards, if we double them up and kind of join them together, that we've got enough to hit the depth of the whole thing. These tiles are just about the only original thing left in this house, and although they're cracked at the back and they're pretty rough, I couldn't bring myself to kind of tile over them, so I've left them in here for the time being. The rug will probably end up being covering over, but anyway, so that's why they're still there and looking a bit ropey. So this is an offcut of the boards. I need to join two to get the depth, but I've got a full 2.4 meter length of that left over, so I'll make up those first, and because I'm trying to do this all in one hit, I'm just going to glue those and use those pocket hole screws from below. And then I found some of this square stock, which was salvaged from somewhere, and that should just about give us enough meat either side of the groove to work with that. Now it would be way easier just to stick two supports either side, put little ledges and sit something on them, but it's always fun to try something new, and providing we've got enough in this timber, which I'm not sure if we do actually, 80. Yeah, we don't have enough width. I've just been up and checked, and we don't actually have enough timber here to go double the width. I wanted to use this depth timber, so I'm going to stick with this. It just means I'm going to have to rip a section of this down, so it'll be 1.5 times the width of this, which just means the whole lot will be set back a little bit, so it should work out okay. Still not going to have enough. Still not going to have enough. that was frustrating me. Haven't got enough of that pine timber to join, and it was just getting a bit messy. So I'm just going to get on with it, and I know deep down here in this pile that there's some rough sawn timber which will be adequate, and it's a full width board. Just means that I've got to get it out. But it will mean that we'll have to use that planer thicknesser at full width of 300mm. That's as wide as I can go without joining the two boards, so we'll be restricted by that, but 300 should get us pretty deep in that fireplace. 30mm is probably the best width, and it's long enough to get two lengths out of, so I'm hoping we're not going to get this out, are we? Let's move everything that's going to break. It's not going to come out on its own. I was hoping for some sort of Jenga moment and just slide it out. Let's see if we can lever. Oh, hello. See, a sheet of plywood wouldn't have been that fun. But just getting into this soft bit here, well, there's a bit of a crack. Okay, we've got the first shelf cut to size, but there's quite a big cup in it, or bend of some sort. So, because I haven't got a jointer, and certainly not a jointer that would take anything near that width, there's no way I can plane it flat, apart from if I use this with some sort of sled. And I've got this old laminate or melamine wardrobe board which is dead flat. I've cut that to the maximum width that this can take, and I've seen it done before where you send it through on there and we just kind of wedge underneath this to stop it rocking, so that it references the bottom of the melamine rather than the bottom of this. So I'm going to give that a go. Could just wedge one corner. So that appears to have taken out all the wobble. Well, that's what you have to say is an absolute failure. It really is not going to plan. I think a combination of the wood not being particularly straight. I tried it on that flat sled, it was all good in theory, but it just slipped off it and I didn't have a long enough piece of melamine to put a stopper on it to stop it sliding. Two, it really just didn't like it. I mean, it was pushing it to its maximum, I guess, the 300mm, and even taking off a tiny slither it was sticking a little bit. I mean, it's flat enough, or smooth at least, on that side. It needs a few more passes to get the centre bit here. But of course, by taking off all of that, we've actually ended up reducing this down from 30mm down to probably under 20. So we haven't really kept the chunky look, and I'm not sure this is particularly the right way to go anymore. But we are never short of shavings for the chicken run. Unfortunately, the only bit of plywood offcut that I've got big enough is under all of this. So we need to clear this off, and then we can cut some strips out of that. Right, hopefully this can be okay. It's certainly wide enough. It's only 12mm. 18mm would have been better, but you know, they're only kids' books, they haven't got encyclopedias or anything. Right, we've got all of our parts ready, so I'm just going to fit the brackets on the side here. Had a little play around with some heights of books, so I think we'll leave space at the bottom, and of course we want to make sure we're hitting a brick, centre of a brick with our fixings. Alright, so they're in. There's a little bit of finessing to do, but they are scribed to the back there, so it's we're making the most of the space at least, and they're plenty deep enough for books. So we're getting there, nearly done. It's just all the toing and throwing up and down to the garage to make every cut, which is wearing me down a bit. So once I've worked out how much more we need to cut off, we'll go down, do the final cuts, and then we'll be done. So these are a bit of an afterthought, but all I'm doing is just putting in another one of these kind of 20mm battens in on the back, just to help it from bowing too much at the back. I don't think it will, but just in case. Oh, hello. Come to inspect the work. Right, I didn't film that stage because it was just a mess. I'm seriously lacking in the clamp department, so all I did is I used a combo of some mitre bond in some spots and then wood glue in the others, and then I've just clamped it on there almost with some wide packaging tape. So I'm not going to wax it just because we haven't quite decided what we're going to do. If we did paint it, then the wax would be a nightmare to get off. So we're just going to leave it bare wood for now. It looks nice enough as it is, and most of it's going to be covered up by books. Thank you. sleep. And the job is done. On to the next one. So we got there in the end with that shelf project. It just, something so simple took so long. Third time lucky. You know, the first 2 attempts failed. That first idea of having a nice solid 30-40 mil solid timber shelf and then routing in a groove rebate to accept those kind of bars on the side. I like that idea, and I think I'll use that again for an alcove. It probably wouldn't have worked up there anyway because the bricks were so uneven, but if you've got a nice bit of stud work or a square alcove, that could be a really good way to go. But anyway, I'll leave some more shelving tips and videos at the end of this one and link to them in the description. But that's it. Remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.